Hello, welcome to our midweek business news report. We now focus on the trading pattern of the Naira. Just a few days ago now, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, has called on the Central Bank of Nigeria to allow the Naira reflect the realities of the market. The national currency is also changing now for about 411 Naira to the US dollar at the official side of the market, but 565 Naira to the dollar at the parallel market, which many believe is a reflection of the true value. Speaking at the midterm retreat of President Muhammadu Buhari's second tenure, the Vice President stated that the exchange rate is artificially low, and this is deterring investors from bringing in foreign exchange into the country. Well, joining me now live in our Lagos studio to discuss this and much more, I have economist Adeola Ojo. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
Good morning.
What do you make of the Vice President's statement of the exchange rate we have at hand is artificially low? Since we've had the forex policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria, we've seen quite a free fall or level of drop in the performance of the Naira against global currencies. But this artificial low record, what do you make of this statement? I
think he emphasized that when he was addressing the position. I think he was making a reference to his the ESP, Economic Sustainability Plan of the federal government, and he said one of the challenges that they faced was ability to get fund into the economy. And one of the things that the people were to bring in fund into the country, where one of the queries, or one of the things they said was that the cost of the price of our foreign exchange is very, very low. Because if they should bring in their money at 411, which is the current price at the official window, and by the time they are to either access anything within the country, they go to parallel market. When they are to repatriate their fund, they go to parallel market. The cost is not, there's so much huge, there's disparity there. So the issue is that we need to actually come to a place whereby the cost of my bringing in and the cost of my transactions together with the cost of my repatriation should not be much. And I think that's the reason why he's speaking in that regard, so that can encourage people to bring in the fund they wanted to bring in.
He made mention of a further devaluation of the Naira, which the Central Bank of Nigeria has been quite, what's the word now? A little bit conservative in terms of mentioning. Now, some believe that if we see a further devaluation of the Naira, this would also weaken an already fragile economy and would likely see inflation also push up about 25%. Do you share in this sentiment?
Basically, the VP and his team are actually trying to help to just window dress what he actually said, because what he said in actual time was devalue the Naira, allow the Naira to flow, allow it to run the way it is. But by the time yesterday, Lala Kande actually came back and said, no, that's not what they meant. Just allow everything that they have said was devalue the Naira. And indeed, devaluing the Naira at this period in time is not going to benefit the economy. Yes, so the federal government is going to be a point of benefit at the point, because one of the things they want to achieve is bringing in foreign exchange. Yes, it will achieve that. Number two, it will also allow the federal government and all the states to have more money, because we have money that is realized from the sale of crude oil. When it comes to the economy, you change it now at a higher value, then they have more money to share. Yes, the federal government is good. But at the other end, we could also see that it is not also okay for the economy, even both for debt payment, because as it is now, we are spending about 70% of our revenue on debt payment servicing. Now, by the time you actually devalue, we may actually be spending more than 100%. to service there, because the value will increase. Then also in the context of that, the interest rates also will increase. Inflation will go up, and a whole lot of things. We also know that Nigeria, the way it is, anything that goes up in Nigeria most of the time does not come down.
And also looking at part of the statements the Vice President also made, he said, well, he sees some level of competition between the Central Bank of Nigeria and other fiscal authorities. Yes, the Central Bank of Nigeria is in charge of monetary interventions and a whole lot more to ensure that we have a policy regime that helps keep the economy robust. But what do you think is looking at in terms of saying that there is a competition here, or the CBN is largely delving into fiscal authorities' efforts or activities? What do you think he's referring to exactly?
I think there is the challenge.
I ask this, if I may ask you now, is because there's this sentiment ruling that the fiscal authorities are not doing enough, and this is forcing the CBN to have to take on much more. The CBN has already largely exhausted almost all its arsenals. The governor stated that in the last MPC meeting.
Yeah, basically, like I said, as it is, this actually is showcasing or showing us the ineptitude and the challenges that are in this government.
There's no synergy.
There's no synergy, and it has been in place even from Kemi Adeosun period as finance minister. It has been glaring. And one of the challenges we have actually listed over time is that there is no synergy between the fiscal authority and the monetary authority. If at one time or the other, it is a good avenue for them to actually bring this to the fore. But there has not been synergy. Then number two, if the CBN had allowed the ministries to actually participate, to do this, this matter, all the achievement they have achieved in this small time would not have been achieved.
Exactly.
We could see all those things that have been given to ministries. How many of them have been able to perform? Like someone was saying yesterday, how many of these government officials, ministers, can you actually categorize and say they have performed? So they will have made their ineptitude and their laxity, the way and manner of their inefficiencies to actually affect the economy, and the economy will be worse than this. So, but I think going forward, both fiscal and monetary authority should at one time or the other come together and work together.
And talking about working together, the synergy at hand, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, according to the Vice President, should also handle MSMEs interventions, and then we should also clearly know what the CBN ought to do. But in other words, if the CBN is intervening in the MSME sector, then it should have the full cooperation of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. Like you rightly mentioned, if the ministry is not necessarily taking the best foot forward, the CBN has to enter, but that's not the most workable approach, wouldn't you say?
Well, I won't say it's not the most workable, because basically, like I said earlier, if they're able to synergize, if they're able to bring all their matters to the table, discuss it, plan it, every other thing. See, there are areas where CBN could not actually perform. The ministry have the last leg to the people. The bank, the CBN not only has direct control over those the monetary authorities. So at one time or the other, both of them need to synergize to be able to get to the end users. And like the VP actually said, which was actually correct, he said it's possible that someone who has assessed a fund at with the minister or with the ministry could also accept the same fund with the CBN because of the way and manner they are running it.
Now, wrapping up our conversation, what do you think will be the forecast, or what would likely play out in the short to medium term as we have all of these interface and the trading of the Naira? How difficult would this now make businesses, the ease of doing business go on? How difficult would this also affect our revenue generation strategies and capacities? How would this also impact on inflation and a whole lot more, heightening the fragility of the economy?
I think going forward, after today, one of the first things that will be done is for the CBN to have a meeting and look at what the proportion of the VP is, then find a way to also come up with their own plan. Then maybe either report back to them or get back to Nigerians and say this is our own policy framework and the way to go. That is number one. Then number two, I will say directly devaluing the currency at this currency at this period in time is not the best. We've seen it happen before. We've seen the way and manner it has spanned to be. We have found out that that is actually not the lasting solution to it. And that was why, sometimes in 2015, the VP himself, when he was addressing some foreign dignitaries, told them that he, though not as a doctrine, but he also does not believe in devaluation because we are not an exporting country. And for us to be able to participate and do fully devalue our currency in the future, we shouldn't at this period in time because we are fragile. One of the things we consume are imported, and if we are going to actually do that, it's going to have impact on the inflation. It's going to have impact on employment. It's going to have impact on interest rates. It's going to have impact on the people. And you could see as of now, those who have any 80,000 minimum wage,
salaries are still the same.
It's gone. Even it will come to a point in time that even those whom we call the big men, because now the middle class is being washed off, the people you call the high end, we will see that the value of their money will actually go, because by the time inflation begins to grow from 17% to 25% to 40%, I pray Nigeria will not become Zimbabwe or Venezuela, because that's actually what will happen when you are not producing. So basically, we should give much attention to production. We should give much attention to exporting, because by the time we actually do this, those are the ways
that would help us to have more revenue generation.
Then we should have good foreign policy, because like I told you last time, what is the name now? Stock exchange is doing well. People want to come in and have foreign direct and portfolio investment into the country. We should give them good avenue. We should make the avenue okay, so that we can. So in every sense, the government should come up with policies that will be okay for the people and okay for the populace.
would like to see a stable economy where Nigerians lead better lives, and also see that we have stability on the part of government as well to ensure that we have as much as possible economic development and an agenda that is sound, that would also help us have much more than we have on ground. Thank you very much for your time on the Breakfast Show this morning.
Thank you.